So this is the new snake cage that we've custom built with only the center light on and with nothing inside yet. And you can see we've made it to be the exact size of this fireplace console. And it fits under the TV. And now I'm going to talk about what it's made of. So these panels are actually siding for like the side of a house. And they are vinyl something or other, but it turns out it's a lot like fiberglass. So initially we had thought we were going to build the whole cage out of this, which we did, and then realized it's basically fancy eggshells because it cracks for almost any reason. So then we had to get these clear things, which are actually like greenhouse panels or like roofing panels, and they're a lot more structurally secure. So we built a second cage, like literally half a centimeter smaller in all dimensions, and then slid the original brown cage on top of that. And you can kind of see the screws where we basically just measured the fireplace console, cut the panels, and then decided a height and kind of just screwed them together. So I don't think it matters what order you really screw them together. What I think would matter is that the roof panel, you want the screws going down into the side panel, and then the bottom panel, you would want to make sure the sides are like sitting on top of the bottom. So basically you want the bottom and top panel to be like coming all the way out and covering the side panels on both sides. I hope that makes sense. For weight bearing purposes. Also, this thing is 7 feet long. So what we did to make sure the middle didn't cave in at all is we took some of the clear greenhouse panel material and cut like 2 flat pieces and kind of slid them in each other, so like a T shape. And then you can see the screws, which are perfectly lit by this. We basically screwed through the top into the cells of this greenhouse material. So the greenhouse stuff is basically plastic, and it has cells that are directional that go all the way through. And I had to really think about which direction I wanted to be able to screw the things into each other. But yeah, depending on what material you choose, you would have to do that. And if you're smart, you would pick a strong material in the first place and only have to make 1 cage instead of 2. And also save yourself $300. But we don't need to talk about that. Also, these zip ties are holding the 2 cages together. So the fancy shell that is very fragile, and then the structural stuff. And this is because these are pieces of siding, the outside. So the siding is about this big per panel, and we initially glued the panels together to make the side panels. And I noticed on one of the sides, luckily very early on, that it was kind of falling down and the glue was coming apart. So now I've put zip ties on each individual panel, so even if the glue stops working, it's attached now and they won't fall off. So there's that. And where I put the zip ties is in this particular siding. There's these little grooves that are lower than the brown part, and you can see I used little black zip ties here. I just took the power drill and poked holes through all the layers, and then the zip tie is on the inside. And because the snake is going to be in here, we don't want him to hurt himself. So where the like ends came out, I sanded it down to be smooth, which to be honest, I spent an hour sanding all the zip ties. But yeah. Oh, also under here you can see command strips. These are on the bottom side of the cage. And these are random foam pieces I had from packaging from other stuff. But we are using the foam pieces to create the supports and keep this slightly lifted off of the fireplace console itself. Also, the panel we have here doesn't quite come all the way to the bottom, but we thought that might be kind of cool actually, because then you can see what substrate we use in here. So when you do it yourself, you could make your front panel longer to cover that completely, but yeah. Oh, and then we got these metal U-channels, and then we got some plexiglass. And so I got one big piece of plexiglass and had them cut it in half. So the plexiglass is a little bit less than 1/4 of an inch thick. And then this U-channel is 1/2 inch wide. So the two fit in there. And we also got a flat metal bar that's 1/2 inch wide. So you screw down the U-channel through the metal into the clear structural stuff. And then you put the metal bar on top. And then these can slide in and out. And you want the metal bar so the screws aren't just like poking out and like catching on this. But yeah, honestly, the plexiglass was the most expensive. It was like $80 for that big sheet, but okay. And so where the cords are, the hole is that big because it's like either the bulb is going through or the control and the plug is going through. So the hole is big enough for the control to fit. And we're just going to have to cover that once we're done. But yeah. So I got this light thing on Chewy. And it initially had a big metal case around it, but the metal case like popped off. And then these are actually like for a grill. These are two like circular grill basket things we found at Fred Meyer. And we just kind of took them apart and created something that fit. And then I like used some wire I have for like jewelry making and drilled some holes in this and attached it. So kind of makes a cage around these two bulbs so the snake doesn't like touch the bulbs. And then where the wire is going to the back, I zip tied it to the ceiling so he can't tangle around in it. And I also zip tied the supports. And again, the zip ties are all in the black little grooves, so when you look from further away you can't even see it. It just looks like a completely smooth top. So I think that's really cool. We also used clear caulking around all the edges. So we made quite a mess with it because we're not professionals, but we got it everywhere and it's all sealed. Also, these black lines are where we marked where to cut. But it's all good, you know? Oh, and then in between the two layers, I put some bubble mailers, like what you get your Amazon packages in, for insulation and to help when the cats jump on this, because the cats will get up on that shelf and then jump down. So that's about 4 feet. And one of our cats is overweight. She weighs like 12 pounds. But it has survived multiple times of her jumping on it. So I think we're good. Yeah, I think that's all I had to say for now. So this video was made way after the first one, but you guys aren't going to know that. So this is the final cage. We actually had a ball python in here. It passed away. And then we had a bearded dragon in here. And then my boyfriend and I broke up and he moved out. So that's gone too. But anyways, so now I have a fake snake in here. This is a fake black mamba that I got on Amazon for $5. But all of the stuff we used for the snake and bearded dragon are still in here, and I just used some packing paper to look like substrate just so the cage looks kind of neat for this video. A few things that we've added since the last video. These are actually called flashing at Home Depot. I guess they use them in a mid-stage of construction of houses or something. So they just covered up the raw edges a little bit. We could have put some here, but I think this looks fine, and you don't see it from the front anyways, but yeah, we just zip tied them on, you know, cut them with some sheet metal cutters. Dude, if you don't own sheet metal cutters, they're these giant scissors that cut through anything. They're like $15. Highly recommend. Anyways, we also got this big metal bar to cover the original like gaps and stuff. And then this, I don't think we had to end up gluing. It doesn't seem like it's glued. I think it just like the little black part that's kind of recessed, it fit right in front of this bar. So This bar kind of keeps it in place enough. Like you can see it moves a little bit, but it still looks fine. And then this is funny. These are actually for the end of curtain rods, but I just drilled a hole in here and then screwed them in. So when we slide the plexiglass now, it's way easier, because when it was all the way closed before, it was like, you just kind of have to like awkwardly squish your hand. So now you can actually just slide it open. We took the cover off once the bearded dragon was in here because he can't reach that, but I still have the cover. So whoever gets it, because I'm selling it now, can put that back on if they want to. Then we've got some gauges in here. I don't think we made much change to the inside. I think the inside was already good to go. So basically the only additions were flashing here to cover the raw edges and this to cover the gaps. And then the little knobs here on both ends like that. Also, we did ventilation holes. So these, like, the siding is really nice because it has this recessed stuff and you don't even really see it from like far away. It's kind of cool. So we put ventilation holes here, and then on the side, I think, no, there's none on the side. So they're on the front and back. You can see in here, they're in the back. And then they're also on the top of the cage in some of the gaps there. Yeah. But basically we just based the holes on the temperature and humidity in the cage, and we kept making the holes bigger and adding more holes until, given the substrate and bulbs that we had in, the temperature and conditions were right, and then we called it good. So it's kind of like a trial and error thing. But yeah, you definitely want enough holes that your animal is getting enough oxygen and that it's not getting super stale in there, especially if you have a higher humidity. You want some fresh air once in a while. But yeah, that's how it turned out. The cats have been jumping on it and it's still very good. Like, nothing's broken. These supports have worked pretty well. And yeah, now I'm selling it. So maybe you can still find it on Facebook Marketplace. I'm in Beaverton, Oregon. The materials alone costed like $800, and then there was also labor and stuff, but I'm trying to sell it for $800 just to get it out of here. The one other thing I was going to say, hello cat toys, is here in the back. I just used some foam like packaging from some stuff I got in the mail and like put the wire through that and then taped it from the back. And unless you have a snake that really can climb and push super hard, I don't think the snake would get out through these holes. So you don't see it, it's in the back. I thought that was good enough. And how we controlled the light was we got a Reptile power center. It has like the outlets where you can program it to, this outlet turns on during the day and this outlet turns on during the night. So it would be like daytime, nighttime. But that's not about the cage. That's just the specifics of how to have the animal, I guess. All right, a couple more things I thought about watching these videos back. If you are going to make a similar cage and you want to save money, I said it before, but this stuff, the siding, it feels strong enough on its own, but once you put it together, especially if a cage is this long, it's not structurally sound. Make sure you pick a material that is structurally sound and is made to be like a standalone, like this panel on the inside. It's made for building greenhouses out of it. So obviously it's going to be able to, you know, stand on its own and be fine. So if you wanted to save money, just make one out of the greenhouse stuff. However, if you want to be fancy and get some nice siding, wow, I need to dust this, that's bad. Then I would not recommend gluing it, actually. Like, maybe use a tiny bit of glue to hold it together just for the zip tying process, but look how much nicer the zip tie looks compared to the glue. The glue is like kind of nasty now. Like, I can peel it off, you know what I mean? So it doesn't matter if it peels off now because it's zip tied, but that would be a pain to take it all off. Like, and it would have been easier to just not do that and zip tie it in the first place. But then that's speaking from only the experience of haven't glued it prior, so if I was only gonna zip tie it, I might have had to put way more zip ties. I still would rather do that than glue it, but yeah, just keep that in mind or pick a better glue. I just picked construction glue, which I think is also a mid-stage construction thing. Like, I don't think they expect it's going to be on the exterior of your project. But I don't know too much about construction, so I kind of just picked something that looked like it would work. The one last thing that might be the most important tip I have, your ventilation holes. The reason I have them on the bottom and the top is so that I get this chimney effect where air comes in and then goes out. You know what I mean? Because the air outside is colder. So the cold air can go in through the bottom, and then because hot air rises and it's hotter inside the cage, you get the circulation effect. That was the thought process behind low and high holes. However, once we had the bearded dragon in here and not the snake, and we were putting live bugs in, bugs can fit through these holes. So not until like a month after the bearded dragon was in here, there was like a cricket that got out, and then the cat was like, he was like chasing around the cricket on the floor, and I was like, what in the world? And at first I thought it was like there was a bag of crickets and one got out of the bag, but no, they were getting out of here. And then after my ex moved out, literally a month later, I was cleaning and I found a desiccated slug under the rug. Like, it was completely dried out. At first I was like, is this like a nasty like earring like gauge situation? Because it looked like a spiral, like it was like this shape and it was like brown and all hard. So I thought it was like an acrylic gauge earring, but it was a dried out slug. And then once I realized, I was like, oh my God. So if you're going to have holes on the bottom, either have an animal where it doesn't need live bugs that can get out, or make sure the holes are smaller than the food you're giving it. But yeah, that's all I wanted to say. I guess I'll do some nice shots of the whole cage before it's gone. Look how big that thing is. It's so big I can't even fit it on the phone screen. I gotta get behind the couch. It's like so big. I'm worried about once it's gone. Oh yeah, I'm watching Too Hot to Handle. It's like, once it's gone, what am I gonna put there? Am I gonna have to move the TV down? Like, it's huge. It is 15 inches deep, 21 inches tall, and 7 feet wide. Like, yeah, I'm so proud of it, but at the same time, am I gonna have a $800 practical joke with a fake snake in it? Like, forever? Someone who has a snake can use it. But yeah, if you have any questions about how it was made or whatever, just drop them in the comments. And I hope you guys enjoyed this video and got some inspiration. Thanks for watching. Bye.